Yep.
Like that?
Yep. Hello, dear listeners. It's time for another Hey, I've Got an Idea show. This is my brother, Mason. Who's that guy? Williams.
And that's my brother, Luke Tailsteak Williams.
That's getting so confusing now. And together we're going to make an invention. We're going to talk our way through a thing. We're going to make it.
Yes, we are.
It does not exist until today.
We're going to do it together. There's no I in brainstorming.
There is, though. If you go back and look at the spelling of brainstorming, you
there's no I in ideas.
This one there, too. There's actually two I's in brainstorming now that I think about it. And then in ideas, it actually leads the word. So this week...
there's no I in conceptualizing.
Let's go into what this subject will be for this week.
Okay.
And you picked it.
I did.
So it's your fault preemptively.
It is my fault. I love that it's my fault.
We are doing a mythological creature.
A creature, ladies and gentlemen. So like centaurs, satyrs, manticores, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. We are going to make one of those, and you are going to tell tales of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, I suppose where I would like to begin is that if we're going to invent a mythological creature, is it more that we are inventing the myth as well as the creature, and it just happens to be that we get to get into the specifics of the creature?
Okay, I do think that creating a mythological creature does necessarily imply the existence of a myth, even if that myth is nothing more than once upon a time this thing existed. Right.
And it will eat you. And that's the myth.
So here's a question.
Because he's vegan.
What separates a mythological creature from, say, a cryptid? Like, what is the dividing line between centaur and Bigfoot?
I feel like history has the biggest factor there. Like, I feel like if it's something that was written about, if there was drawings made of it that were, like, from around the 1800s, or maybe even the really early 1900s, if it's like, like, I guess it's like the Babadook. The Babadook is, like, not ancient, right?
Okay, well, now our problem here is then we can't create a mythological creature because we would have to, like, put it in the past, and, like, unless you have a time machine or unless you want to wait around for 200 years, we're not going to have this be a myth. We're just going to be creating a cryptid. And I don't want to create a cryptid. That's going to be a later episode. I got cryptid in my back pocket for later. We're doing mythological creature this episode. So I'm going to dispute your definition.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I feel that a myth has some sort of proper meaning to it. There's some sort of emblematic, like, even if it's not explicitly stated, that there is some sort of idea behind the myth. Like, say, oh, there's a centaur. A centaur is a metaphor for man's bestial nature, whereas Mothman or Bigfoot or the Chupacabra is just something that idiots believe exists. It doesn't have a greater myth, a greater purpose psychologically behind it.
Okay. There's another important distinction I want to get into, is that we have sort of an overlap between the mythological creatures that have stories told of them, have, like, greater purpose to their narratives and whatnot. And then we also have just general high fantasy, where it's the same sort of body of work. It's just applied to D&D or, the Tolkien universe or whatever.
Yeah, and like I would say that although a centaur is a mythological being, when you place it in the context of a high fantasy role-playing game, that is not a myth. That is just a sequence of stats on a sheet that you can use to tell stories that may or may not be reliant on the idea of the centaur.
So, okay, I like our definitions so far. So, what would be for do we want to build the myth first and then build the creature basically?
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go that route. Like, we could go the easy route and just say pick like 3 animals and put them in a blender, but I don't want to do that. I want to start with the psychological underpinnings, create the myth. Perhaps again, like we very often do, try and make it a myth or an idea or a concept that's beneficial to society, and then work backwards from that and create the mythological creature that is in that myth.
So where does the boogeyman fall?
The boogeyman.
Yeah, because the boogeyman is a story that you tell to scare your children into doing a thing, or the boogeyman will get you, or maybe it's like what kids tell their siblings to scare them because that they get kicks out of that. But the details of the boogeyman being like non-important, but it's still a man.
Yeah.
So like, is that a supernatural sort of?
Yeah, the boogeyman is a very, very basic, very vague, not very well fleshed out mythological creature. The purpose of that whole story is something's gonna get you, and just the something, we happen to have hit upon the name boogeyman. But other than that, we don't really have any details other than something's going to get you. And maybe the something's going to get you because you were bad, or maybe the something's going to get you just because it's dark, or maybe the something's going to get you just because life is chaos and the world is an unfair place. I don't think that that's a good lesson to teach kids anyway. Like, fuck, like the whole idea of, oh, you better clean your room or a bad thing is going to happen. That, quite frankly, is irresponsible parenting.
Yeah, it's definitely taking like a bit of a cop out. That it's like, oh, it's just, it'll be so much easier to get them to do the thing if you just scare them. Like, just frighten your child. It's just, and then they'll do the thing and shut up and okay, cool. And
yeah,
I mean,
like, imagine if your whole life was organized around that. Like, for every minor chore or thing that you wanted to do, your parents just invented a new thing to freak you the fuck out. It's like, oh, you better brush your teeth or the night elves will come and they'll piss in your mouth while you're asleep. And it's like, God, I better brush my teeth really well.
Yeah.
Because that one time I didn't, I woke up and my mouth tasted really bad, so the night elves must have pissed in it.
It must have been piss.
Yeah, it has to have been piss.
Must have been piss.
Must have been piss.
I do understand. I can empathize with wanting to take that easy route because, like, it's not easy to try and rationally discuss a thing with a child. You eventually have to, like, break out some low-key threats.
Yeah, but I mean, it's bad parenting because the job of a parent is not merely to deal with the child in the now. The job of the parent is not merely to make sure the child picks up their room and brushes their teeth now. The job of the parent is to produce a functioning adult. And while these, horror stories can help you in the now to ensure good behavior, if they carry over into the various psychoses that you have when you're 25, you're going to have a shitty adult. And a shitty adult who's going to perpetuate this abuse and to perpetuate it in a more honest way because they honestly believe in all this shit and they're going to pass that on to their kids, but they're going to lose track of why those myths were used in the first place. And they're just going to spread the ideas of night elves pissing in your mouth purely for the sake of the fact that they believe in night elves. And they've lost the whole point of it, which is to encourage child to brush teeth, and now they're just making children afraid of getting piss in their mouths.
Now it's just more of like a piss mouth prevention thing. They feel they're providing a service.
Yeah, no, that's why you shouldn't do that particular kind of parenting. Cue the more you know star sound effect here, please.
And I do feel more informed. So,
Yes.
myth first, we were saying, huh?
This has been parenting advice from two non-parents.
Yes.
The one thing parents love the most is getting parenting advice from non-parents.
Yes, let me tell you how to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, things.
Things.
Myth things.
Yes.
Go.
Okay, so what is a moral that we want to impart to the general public?
Okay, I'm gonna say off the top of my head, don't have dog treats.
Don't eat dog treats?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking like not like some monster that's going to come get you, but maybe if you eat too many dog treats, you begin to become a dog man yourself, and then you have the dog man as the mythological creature.
Okay, let me take another swing at that the moral. I think I can do better.
Okay, get a better moral
Okay.
than don't eat dog treats. Because I'm going to be honest, I have eaten some dog treats. After a while, you get used to them. They're pretty good.
Yeah, you kind of get acclimated to them. I understand that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So the moral is never go south.
that's we're just going to eventually all congregate at the North Pole and be unable to move.
Exactly. And then we can build a new life there.
No, because the critical mass of people is going to
Well, most of them will be dead. Let's be
yeah,
real.
I mean, we're going to die, from polar bears and exposure and the cold, but also the critical mass of people will eventually generate some amount of heat through insulation, and we're going to melt the North Pole, and unlike Antarctica, there's nothing underneath that. We're just going to go straight into the Arctic Ocean, and all of humanity will drown.
Okay. So I feel like maybe I missed the mark on those first two morals.
Yeah,
Just
no,
a
the
little
first
bit.
one is just so minor that I don't care. The second one is driving humanity to extinction. So I need you to hit me with a middle ground.
Okay. How about
something?
we share this a little bit? How about
Okay.
you say an entire moral without a noun, and I've got the key noun that I'm gonna put in.
Okay, all right,
go
all
ahead.
right. This is so good. Okay, hang on, thinking. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Keep your blank clean.
Timetable.
Keep your timetable clean.
Yes. Your schedule. Keep your schedule
Okay, so
clean.
so sort of a time management version of neither a borrower nor a lender be is never have outstanding appointments. Never have a thing that you need to go do.
Well, it's also just kind of like don't overload yourself or something horrible will happen.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so we need, again, not necessarily consequence. Like, I don't want to be in the, oh, don't do this or a bad thing, this bad monster is going to come get you. But we need something that personifies, that embodies the concept of a messy timetable. Like, here is a creature that is all messy timetable, and that's how we know this creature.
I'm the chrono spider, and I see you've got too messy of a timetable. Oh no, here's a fang prick on your neck to remind you. You've doing too many things, Donald. Do one less. Do one less, Donald. I'm the chrono spider.
Oh, the chrono spider. So it's like a spider, but it's got like a clock on its
Yeah,
abdomen.
you get it. He's got.
Well, I mean,
he's
there
got
already is a spider with an hourglass on its abdomen, and like if it bites you on the neck, you will have a very clear timetable. But
Yeah, he's got more of a Flava Flav thing going.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. So like a Flava Flav clock thing. Okay, is this like a small spider-sized spider, or are we talking like something like that you could throw?
Well, I kind of like him being somewhere in between, like so small that you wouldn't notice him, and so big that you would hear him in the room.
No.
He's
Size changes depending on how many things you've got left.
Now
so if
you
you've
get
just got
it.
like
Okay.
one extra thing on your timetable, that's fine. That's just a little guy. He's just going to bite you a little bit. It's just going to hurt a little bit. But if you've got multiple conflicts, if your timetable is full up with overlapping appointments going over for a year, like you open the door and there's like a spider the size of a horse and it's like, "What's up? I'm here to bite you."
I'm the chrono spider, but really, really big now.
Yes, I'm really big and I'm going to bite you on your neck.
Because it's you really out of control. You were double booked twice today alone.
It's very bad. You have, you're trying to do lunch at the same time as you're doing the staff meeting, and don't get me wrong, you can do that, but it's kind of rude.
And now you get a bite.
You're going to get just a little bit of a bite from me.
A bite. Here it is.
Bite.
Bite for you. Let me just get in there real quick.
Oh my! You're wearing sunscreen. That's yeah. It's got a coconut pineapple.
Got a tang to it.
Yeah.
I like how we're both choosing to do the chrono spider. One could be the person defending their overly
that's
busy
the thing.
schedule.
Like I said, like the chrono spider, it's not merely the threat; it embodies the idea of being double booked. So it's got a double voice. Whenever it's talking to you, it's got two voices, and that makes it difficult to understand. And you're like, "Oh no, two things happening at once. I don't understand. I'm getting flustered." Oh, I get the metaphor.
Right. I can't focus because there's too much going on.
Yeah, so the spider's all up in your grill. He's like trying to tell you advice about your life, but you can't hear it because it's two voices at once. And then you're just like, what? I don't understand. And then the thing just bites you because that's the one thing it can do that is unambiguous. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Fine, bye, geez. And then you cross out one of the things off your list.
So the real world version of this. Could the legend go that like if you find just like a mark on your neck of any kind, then the person's reaction would be like, oh, so like have you been scheduling a little too much lately? Because
you got visited by the chrono spider, I see.
Yeah.
And the guy's like covering up a hickey, and he's like, yep, that sure is what that is.
Yeah, that's
I was double booked. That's my bad.
Double booked.
Not a vampire.
Double D. Anyway. I don't know why I bothered to specify that this person was a double D when it was a hickey. It's not like
it's breast hickeys.
Breast
hickeys. You get nipple suction.
Yeah.
That's very erotic. That's the in thing right now. That's the hip thing that kids are doing to each other is like they're using their nipples. And you don't have to be a double D. You can like have like even dudes, you can do this. You just use your nipple to suck on someone's neck. It leaves a perfectly round hickey.
So should we design the chrono spider? Are we going with this chrono spider? Do you want to come back to it?
We've spent so much time on the chrono spider. I do think that I want to go with the chrono spider.
But
double
voices. I feel like I sort of strong-armed the entire creation process.
Well, I respect your creative input.
Okay.
But if you want to if we can put the chrono spider on the shelf and then we could do another mythological creature, maybe we'll do 3 and we'll do like best of 3.
Sure. Have them fight.
Okay, so let's do the moral.
Wait! Even better. Could it be like a rock paper scissors situation?
Ooh.
Where it's a threefold set of mythological creatures that each one is strong against another but weak against another.
Okay, so the chrono spider has the base concept of keep your timetable clean, and it is the personification of confusion vis-a-vis time. So what is something that beats that? What is something that is beaten by that concept?
Well, I feel like laziness should be an opposite to it, but it's hard to do an opposite in a 3-prong structure, right? Because like if you're lazy, that's also bad.
Yeah, okay. Being flexible, having the ability to adapt, that's the opposite of having a timetable.
Right. So, is flexibility strong against the chrono spider? or weak
I'm going to
against?
say yes. I'm going to say being flexible makes you strong against the chrono spider because it's coming up on you and it's like, hey, you're double booked. I'm going to bite you. And then you're just like, I'm flexible. I'll move this thing from 3 to 315. And the chrono spider just like with two voices at once says, "Aw, nuts." And it snaps like it's 8 fingers at once and then it leaves.
Right.
So being flexible beats the chrono spider. So what is the mythological creature associated with flexibility and adaptability and being able to think on your feet and change?
Well, I mean, the common metaphor used here is either something that can go with the flow in a stream, or something that, like a tree that can blow in the wind comfortably, that isn't too rigid.
Okay. Let me hit you with this. Water tree. A tree made of water.
A water tree. Now, is this the next creature?
Yeah, this is the next creature. It's not in any way humanoid. It's actually mostly stationary. It looks like a normal tree until you get up close, but then you realize that it's shimmering and moving in a way that a tree doesn't. And you put your hand up against it and you realize that that surface of bark is actually water. And you can push your hand into it and you're like, wow, I'm pushing my hand into this tree. The tree's made of water. And at first you think, oh, that's so beautiful. That's such a great thing. And, you know, it is beautiful in small doses. You can like play around with it. You can like scoop out a little bit of it, and then you've got like wood water in your hand, which is very useful. But if you fuck around with it too much, then you're too flexible and you start to become watery yourself.
And I like that too, because even though it's beautiful and seems like it teaches like a lesson in and of itself, it seems to be wholly set aside from the typical trees that one would interact with, which would probably be a wise old tree, right?
Yes.
Like this is sort of separate from that. It's fluid, so it's got its own sort of MO.
Yeah, and like if you just look at it and you just like take a still image, you don't realize that that's what it is. It just looks like a regular ass tree. But as soon as you see it moving or you come up to it and you touch it, then you realize, oh my God, this is a water tree.
Mm.
I'm in the presence of a water tree. And you don't need like an axe to get like firewood or something. You could just scoop out a handful of wood and then you've got like a handful of firewood. But here's the thing is if you touch it too much, if you mess around with it too much, then you start getting watery yourself. Your own skin becomes too pliable and you're like, oh shit, I'm flowy now. And you have to like firm yourself up.
So I feel like you can overdo it with any of these 3 prongs. Here, like any of them that you have to balance the 3 basically.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I have an idea for the third one already, but what kind of character can we give this water tree? Like, does it actually speak? Is it just a presence?
I'm gonna say like when you're just looking at it, you don't hear it. Like you think, okay, this is just a tree and it's moving a little weird and I can touch it, that's fine. But if you submerge your head in it, like if you just push your head into the wood so that your head is inside it and your ears are in there, then you hear the sound. And it's just a constant slow murmuring of different ideas. And that's one of the reasons why people are attracted to this is because it will give you ideas like a muse. So like you put your head into it and it's giving you all these great ideas or great things you can do. But again, you put your head in there too long, you become too fluid and you can merge with the tree. So you just like dip your head into it in a little bit, you get some inspiration, but then you got to pull your head back out within a couple of seconds.
Right. Okay, so do you want to put any more character into this water tree?
Okay, so here's the question. We know that water tree beats spider. How does water tree beat chrono spider?
Water tree beats chrono spider, like you said, by being flexible enough to inspire more flexibility with the time that
can't be bitten. You can't bite that.
And yeah, you can't be bitten.
Yeah. Okay. Water tree beats chrono spider. Okay, so we need the third thing that beats water tree but is beaten by chrono spider.
Honestly, I feel like I've got a good concept for that third thing.
Okay.
But it's a combination of like a few different aesthetics. Okay. I'm thinking of something more strict, right?
Okay.
So I'm thinking line in the sand. I'm thinking stone golem that's like a structure of accomplishment. Like it's like sort of like a tower that wants to keep building itself or something like that. But
Okay.
it's in the interest of more. It's almost like a greedy creature in the sense.
Okay. So a golem that keeps piling onto itself and very, very quickly becomes far larger than the original golem. It turns into a great tower.
Right. So you sort of have to take it down a notch by it's like a sort of a metaphor for one's own accomplishment and how much they take on that like you can do too much, you can overbook your timetable, and that's when the Chrono Spider wins over it because it's saying like no, you can do more than this, like you can sorry, no, let me try that again. The Chrono Spider beats it because the Chrono Spider says like you're taking on too much, you're going out of control, you're stacking too tall, it's too wobbly, it's gonna fall. But the water is sort of like too loosey-goosey, too flexible. It's like you're going too far with the flow, you're not building firm on foundation enough.
Okay. So like this self-building golem tower thing, it just stomps water tree. It's like, okay, you aren't solid enough. I'm building, like, its stones are not affected by the water tree turning things liquid. It's just, no, we're building fucking things. Look at how big we're building. We don't have time for you just fucking around. We're building this big thing. But then Chrono Spider comes up on this golem tower and just jabbers in its ear with its two mouths, and that confuses the golem. It sort of knocks it off balance and it falls apart.
Yeah, I mean it can. It's pointing at, it's the snarky reminder. Like I'm reminded of the Tower of Babel or Babel.
Yes.
It
I mean, it can be the Tower of Babel or the Tower of Babel because the tower changes how you call it.
Fair enough.
Do it, yeah.
Fair enough. But I'm reminded of that it's like the source of confusion with the spider seems like it would undermine the very structure. It's kind of like termites on a woodshed or something. Like yeah. So I feel like so the
building then is not just physical stacking. You know, much the same way that a golem is animated by the word. You know, this golem tower is not merely building a tower, it is inscribing words all over itself, right? But then the Chrono Spider comes up, and with its jabbering, it's sort of like yelling numbers at someone who's trying to count, messes the golem up, and it messes up its own life words, and that's what causes it to fall apart.
Okay, here's something else I sort of like about this idea is, okay, so if we go with the Chrono Spider actually having sort of like an army, like controlling the abilities of many insects, it can sort of also represent a form of like organization. Like you need the planning and the structure of like a good ant colony essentially, to be able to build properly. And that's why he sort of undermines just this pure ambition of the golem to build higher and higher without the proper planning.
Right, because like the golem, he just keeps going and keeps going. He has no regard for structural integrity.
Yeah, he's
just constantly building and posing, quite frankly, a danger to everyone around him. And the Chrono Spider serves that purpose, comes up and is just like, nope, you're too big. Down you go.
And you know what else you could talk about too is the fact that if we're talking about balancing the three effectively, if this was either like a life philosophy or something like that, the water tree, like ideally you want to have a balance of all three. You want to mix the three together. The water from the water tree in the right proportions isn't just the antithesis of this stone golem. It would actually like cause the right kind of mud to like glue it together essentially.
Because I mean it's water, but it's also wood, so it makes the ideal mortar because it has the flexibility of water but the permanence of wood. Not to mention the fact that it's got those whispering words all throughout it. And like that's the creativity, that's the concepts that allows the golem to animate.
Hmm. And I feel like also another way that the water tree counters the chrono spider, just simply that it would drown the chrono spider.
That is also true. That's the other issue when you like stick your head inside it, is not only, are you lulled by all these creative words giving you inspiration, not only is it gradually turning your head more and more pliable until it becomes liquid, but also, hold your breath. Like, how long can you hold your breath and listen to these ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our three core concepts here are your schedule has got to make sense. Don't overwork yourself. Don't overbook yourself. You have to leave room for yourself to be flexible, and that's where creativity comes from. But that creativity causes you to accomplish things and stack up your accomplishments, but don't be too focused on your accomplishments and what you're producing, because then that leads to your schedule being overbooked.
Yes.
And that's the cycle of, like, you just keep going around in a circle repeating that life advice. Do this, but don't do that. Oh, but do this, but don't do that. And you just have these three things, these three concepts going around in a circle. And then anytime anybody is going too far in one of those three directions, you can say, hey, watch yourself, because you're going to run afoul of mythological creature.
Pull them back a little bit.
Whatever your one particular problem is.
Right. What I find kind of interesting about this, too, is that we started out wanting to make a mythological creature, and it feels sort of like we've invented more of like a pantheon.
No, we've got an ecosystem of three different creatures, one of which is an animal, one of which is a plant, and one of which is a mineral.
God, this is getting good.
I want pictures of these.
Yeah.
I know we keep pleading to our listener base for fan art, but like, seriously, this is cool.
Now, you know what, honestly, I feel like this is lending itself more towards is like when you can establish a pantheon sort of like this, it lends itself to a world with all of the culture like that. Like, you could basically somewhat do, I don't want to say like Avatar Last Airbender, but sure, like, you sort of could place characters and villages with their own philosophies in a setting like this. Like, you can run a D&D campaign in a world where these are the three gods.
No, you could have that. No, here's what your use of this is you're running a D&D campaign, and your players get too mired in one of these three problems. That's when you bring in this monster to fuck with your party. So if your party is taking on too many challenges and they're like, oh, we're chasing like 5 plot threads at once, that's when you start getting attacked by chrono spiders. If your party is, too loosey-goosey and coming up with too many ideas constantly, that's when you have the water tree, and you're like, oh, you're making fort saves, or you're turning into a liquid. And if your players are taking too much pride in their accomplishments, if they're saying, oh, I've got this and I've got this, so I'm the biggest and the baddest and the best, then you have them face the golem tower, and they realize, oh man, I can't take too much pride in all this stuff I've stacked up, because look at what that leads to.
I'm wondering if this divvies up nicely, as do other things too. Like, I'm thinking of the three pendants in Legend of Zelda of strength, wisdom, and courage. Is like, strength would be the golem, wisdom would probably be the water tree, courage is the spider.
Yeah, you defeat each of these three things, and you get the pendants of time management, creativity, and having a reasonable level of accomplishments.
I suppose that is different than it just being like point blank, just like strength. And yeah, like, these are a little bit more,
well, there's more
philosophical
to strength than just muscles, my friend.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, but this is the thing, is it's much more philosophical than your average fantasy universe, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I mean, we went into it starting with that as our starting point, right? Like I said, we could have had an episode where it was just like animal, blender, done. But we didn't go that way. We went high concept. And I like that about this show. I think we can go high concept. We have very high concepts on this show.
Sure.
I have not yet recorded a show while high and having concepts. I think perhaps we should do that at some point.
Nice 420 show.
how listenable that's going to be.
It
Okay,
will be garbage.
Our pledge to you, dear listeners,
Mhm.
when we do hit episode number 420, that we will record like a long ass stream of us doing one of this while incomprehensibly high.
That's going to take us like 9 years to get there.
Well, I mean, by then, weed will be not only legal, but commonly available in every, corner shop.
Right.
And they will have made the strongest strain comprehensible to science.
And that's obviously the one we're going to use.
Yeah, we're just going to be smoking pure water tree. And vaping, no, not smoking, vaping it. We're going to be vaping pure water tree. The inspiration will go into our lungs, into our brains, and we will just fucking 420 blaze it all over your ears and brains, dear listeners.
Can I tell you that I like the names of just Chrono Spider, Water Tree, and to be honest with you, I just like Golem. Like, just calling it Golem.
Well, we can't just call it a golem, because that's already a thing with a separate, very important cultural context.
I'm feeling like aspiration is the word we want to base this off of.
Aspiration, accomplishment, pile.
Jenga. It's like Jenga. Ass Jenga.
Jengolem.
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 No one will know. No one will know that it was Jenga and Golem put together.
Yes. So the Chrono Spider, the Water Tree, and the Jengolem.
Like, honestly, I would be quite okay with hearing some kind of campaign in a universe where this is the pantheon that they base everything off of.
Yeah, like, you know what? If you don't do fan art or write fiction or whatever, just write us up the D&D stats.
Yeah.
That counts as fan art.
What I find kind of intriguing is it's cool to think of, giving it all this flourish, the usual, like, different color schemes and all the normal things that come part and parcel with creating universe of this. But what I find kind of interesting is that, like, fundamentally we're talking about 3 different kinds of life philosophies and how they contrast and compare with each other and the balance of the 3. And that suggests to me that if one was to set something in a universe where this was the overarching, like, pantheon, that it
3 gods, perhaps.
But that it would be, like, very much more conversational. That there would be a lot more dialogue happening.
Yeah, like, it's not just a
action.
binary, this is good and that's evil. It's there are 3 competing philosophies, and you don't just say, oh, I'm going to worship this and shun that. You say, like, I have to pay tribute to each of the 3 gods. The god of productivity, the god of inspiration, and the god of, 420 blaze it. Right.
And I feel like, wait a second. Didn't you mean time management?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Could have sworn you swapped one of them there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So I have a feeling like if a bunch of people, like 3 or 4 people, sat down to, like, play a session of this game, they might just accidentally talk about their lives and then leave the table being like, huh, did we even roll any dice? Like, I thought we were going to play a game. Huh. Oh well. We talked about stuff and felt like rewarding, productive conversation anyway.
Yeah. You get XP for that shit.
Sure. What else do we need?
Well, we need to remind listeners to hit us up on Instagram and on YouTube and on Twitter. And they can email us. What's that email address?
higaishow@gmail.com.
Sure is. You got it right. And they can hit us up on Treasure Trail. And they can hit us up on FetLife. And they can hit us up on The Sims. They can make us in The Sims and then say hello to our Sims. And they can do a little dance.
So, I mean, I can tell that you're padding a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm going to ask is why you didn't take this opportunity to do your fun new segment that we haven't heard in a little while. Because that's kind of what that was designed for in a way, right? Your
I don't know what you're talking about.
Your fun segment that you sometimes do?
I have many fun segments.
Yeah, well, hit us up with one. We got some time. Oh, or rather, let's read some fan mail. All right, this one comes to us from no one from nowhere, and it doesn't exist. So let's be sad instead.
Okay, well, you know what, Luke?
Yes.
You know what, Luke? This is your chance.
Yes.
This is your chance.
Yes.
It's your chance.
To do
the Humpty Dance.
To do the hump?
The Humpty Dance, it's your chance to do the hump.
The hump?
Do the Humpty Hump.
The Humpty Hump?
Right now. It's your chance.
I will not.
But it's your chance, though. You only get so many chances in this life.
Mason, I think we're out of steam. I think there is like a fourth steam creature. And he's saying, ooh, not here. No. All right.
Seriously, though, hit us up on Instagram.
We do have an Instagram where you can find a quote from the upcoming episode before the episode goes live.
Spoiler.
So, yeah, I try to pick quotes that are you don't know how they could possibly have context for the topic.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. But no, let's I mean, if we're all done here, I feel like we are. Let's just do the thing, huh? The picking of the next thing. We can call it a little bit early this time.
Yeah.
It. Speaking of time management, listen to that Chrono Spider. You know, takes an extra minute from not listening to extra podcast and organize your sock drawer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so Luke, I believe it is not only your chance, it is also your turn.
It is my turn. So we went. This was the small one. As
I had a much
time?
bigger one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Mason.
Okay.
What is your favorite color?
My favorite color. I'm going to say a nice cool gray.
That's good to know because next week we're going to invent a new fashion line.
Ooh. I'm too sexy for my shirt, Luke.
Then you can take it right off because that's
sexy it hurts.
You don't need to wear that anymore. We got a new fashion line you can wear instead.
It hurts really bad, Luke.
It's actually really on brand. If you would just,
it hurts really bad, Luke.
Don't keep that on. Then you can have a nice new fashion look with our new fashion line that we're gonna make, and that'll be super on brand if you wear it because it's ours, right? So
yeah.
Hey,
no, seriously though, for like a second, can we make shirts?
I mean, yes.
Sweet.
Yeah, we can make shirts. So next week we're gonna invent shirts and possibly all kinds of other things with our own fashion line.
Fashion line.
Next week.
Yes, and as always, ladies and gentlemen, thumbs up monorail eggplant.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yep.
Like that?
Yep.